Hello, and welcome to the Keiwear Show, where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of happiness. I am your host, Keisha Mayo, and we have a great show for you on today. I have a very special guest. Today, we have Shawn, Governor Gibbs. He's a business owner and an entrepreneur of a fast and growing artist and development company. Welcome to the show, Shawn, and thank you so much for accepting my invitation. Please introduce yourself to my viewers.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, happy Thursday, Keisha. Happy Thursday. And thank you for allowing me to be a part and to grace your show on this evening. I'm just a big, huge fan of your work and what you're doing, especially in the gospel music side and just in
Thank
the mainstream side of the music industry and all the bases that you're covering. So I'm honored to be with you on this evening, my friend.
Thank you so much, Shawn. And I tell you, your bio is so impressive. I mean, I don't even think we're gonna get through everything, that I've read. I mean, you achieved
Yes.
so much, and I mean, you have really been a blessing in, every industry you could think of. And I remember we first met years ago, when you were singing, well, you're still under Bishop Hezekiah Walker,
Yes,
and I
yes,
remember how you used to get us gigs and stuff like that. But let's
yes.
start from the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
Ah, born and raised Brooklyn, New York, Bed-Stuy, do or die all my life. Still live in Bedford-Stuyvesant, born and raised in the same community that my parents raised us in.
Mhm.
So I've been a product and an implant, not an implant, but just a product of Bedford-Stuyvesant for the last 54 years of my life. So I'm proud to be bedside strong. You know what I'm saying?
I hear
My
you.
parents are from the South. They're
Mhm.
from Charleston, South Carolina. So when they migrated up here to the North, and made it to New York, I think Brooklyn is where they planted their roots at.
Uh-huh.
I think my oldest brother was born in Brownsville, and
Mhm.
I was also born in Brownsville. I was born in Brookdale Hospital, but then
Mhm.
as a maybe around 2 or 3 or so,
Mhm.
my parents moved to Bedford Stuyvesant. So, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. And Shawn, who was your inspiration growing up?
Wow, so many I can say, but more and more now as I live and as I breathe on this earth, I would have to say would have to probably be my parents. More than anything. My mom was a stay-home mom and she was a homemaker. My dad was a janitor for
Mhm.
45 years in the
Wow.
hospital. He worked at Maimonides Hospital. He was the epitome of hard work and just he loved his family. He went
Mhm.
to work every day and took care of his family and provided for
Mhm.
his family. Um, I can tell you that I just remember like throughout the years growing up as a kid, my dad would only take off twice a year, not take off, he'd take vacation twice a year. He took
Mhm.
vacation 1 week in the summer, and
Mhm.
that was to take us down south to Charleston, South Carolina, and then he'll take a week off around Christmas time,
Mhm.
and the rest of the year, my father worked every single day. He had worked 2 jobs, so he worked the daytime. He worked night times in the hospital at
Mhm.
Maimonides Hospital, and then he had a daytime job, and he was like a stock person
Mhm.
at Macy's, 34th Street, Herald Square.
Wow.
So I just remember those memories. And
And
like I
that's
said,
where you get your work ethic from. Like, always
yeah.
work.
So I remember my dad retired, and like I said, after 45 years, and my dad had so much time on the books at the
Mhm.
hospital that they told him they like gently retired him and said, "Mr. Gibbs,
Mhm.
we're gonna retire you, but
Right.
you don't even have to start to collect your pension for at least another year and a half because you
Wow.
got so much time, so we gotta pay you out your time."
Wow.
So my father was like still working. I mean, he was still getting a paycheck from the hospital for
Mhm.
almost a year and a half before he was able to roll over into his pension. So stuff like that is just, again,
So your
that
dad was
yeah,
your inspiration.
yeah. My mom was just
Mhm.
like she was just the epitome of just that, a homemaker, someone who loved who loved their kids,
Right.
who loves her family, who took pride in, buying, the right furniture, buying the right drapes and curtains, and every season we had to switch out,
Right.
the right curtains for the right seasons,
Right. And you grew up in
and
the church, right?
yeah, and I grew up in the church,
Mhm.
so yeah, so those attributes I don't really see that any longer in the younger generation.
Right.
So I miss that, but I thank God for those things. So yes, I am definitely
Hmm.
uh that's I think my mom and my dad is definitely my inspiration. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And Shawn, I want to know, where did the name Governor come from? How did you get that name?
So that's like an industry moniker of mine.
Hmm.
And I guess I won't even say I guess. What happened was that I just knew so many different people from all different angles of life, and as you read in my bio,
Uh-huh.
I not only worked in gospel, but I also worked in the entertainment or in the secular side of the business.
Right.
So so in working in the secular side, I just knew people from all different angles. So I had a friend that was like, "Man, you know everybody, like you like the governor of gospel, man," and it just kind of clicked,
Right.
and by clicking, it just people just started to refer to me as that,
Uh-huh.
Governor Gibbs, and it just clicked, and
Right. And
that's
you know how sometimes
it's here you have it.
and you know how sometimes you say, who have you taken pictures with? The question for you is, who haven't you taken pictures with? Because you have pictures with everybody.
I have met so many people in my life,
Yes.
and I mean, if I could tell you the people who I met at least 20, 25 years ago when I was in the thing, I mean, again, we didn't have camera phones. We didn't really think of taking pictures like that.
Hmm.
So, but I have some really old vintage pictures of me and Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown, just
Everybody.
like, yeah, yeah, I'm
I even
saying Mary
saw
J.
pictures of
Blige.
you and Beyonce.
Yes, yeah, yep, yep. I met Beyonce in
Hmm.
2018
Hmm.
at when the Grammys was here in New York at the Clive Davis party, and I was invited to the party,
Right.
and that was my one time opportunity to meet her. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna
Right.
go up and introduce myself to her." I
Right.
did,
Right.
and it
Well,
worked.
that's
And
awesome,
you saw
Shawn.
and you saw that beautiful smile. That's a authentic, beautiful
Mhm.
smile.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
I mean, you're just amazing. But I know you've been a part of Hezekiah Walker and the Love Fellowship Crusade Choir for many years. How long were you under the leadership of Bishop Walker?
Whoo, now Keisha, you about to age me and out my age. But I love telling this story. So I literally came to Bishop Hezekiah Walker. I was literally in the 10th grade. It
Hmm.
was 1987, I believe. I came to no 1986. I came to 87. 87. I came to. I was 10th grade going into the 11th grade,
Hmm.
and I joined the choir, the Crusade Choir, because at that time my oldest brother is a bass player, and he was playing for Bishop Hez.
Hmm.
So he took me to rehearsal. I was mesmerized, literally mesmerized by the first rehearsal. And and I kept going back to her. So I was just mesmerized. I was like, I'll be honest, I'm not the best singer or singer, but it's just something I felt like, oh my God, I felt drawn to it. So on a whim, I just joined the choir. My oldest brother was shocked, like, what?
Hmm.
Oh my God, like you did this?
Right.
But then my brother left like a few months later because he went to go overseas to Japan for a
Hmm.
few months to play for Mama I Want to Sing. So I was
Wow.
like, well, I can't be in the choir and you left. And my mom was like, I was still in high school. And my mother, again, was one of those strict parents, so, but for some strange reason, she trusted Bishop Walker with her kid, with her son.
Hmm.
And I often tell this story that sometimes I feel like Moses
Hmm.
when his mother put him in the basket and put him in the river and send him up the
Right.
river
Uh-huh.
and let somebody else raise him.
Uh-huh.
And that was literally Keisha, my story, that my
Wow.
mom literally just allowed a whole nother person
Hmm.
at that time, someone that was
Right.
only, just maybe 5 or 6 years older than me at the time, but she allowed this young adult to raise me.
Right.
And I'm big on loyalty.
Hmm.
And look,
You have
30,
been.
37 years later, I'm still
Wow.
with Hezekiah Walker. So,
That's a
and
blessing.
that, yeah, if I
Mhm.
did not join that choir, I don't know really where the course of my life would have been or where I would have gone.
Mhm.
And I probably would not be here interviewing
Mhm.
with,
Uh-huh.
your beautiful soul.
Oh, thank you, Shawn. And I just get so inspired by you. Like, even when I see your different posts, it's like, wow, Shawn is just doing it all. He's
Yes.
amazing. And, I'm really touched by the things that you're doing, just the things that God is doing for you, the doors that He still
Yes.
gonna open for you. I mean, He done opened so many, but there's so many more doors, that you need to walk in because you're being a blessing to others. And I know you're also into fashion. When did you develop a passion for creative arts?
So I'll tell you another little quick story. So right out of high school, I would never forget in like 1989. I went to fashion. I went to FIT college, and I wanted to be a fashion buyer. That was really big, in the fashion industry, being a fashion buyer. I wanted to
Mhm.
be a fashion buyer, and I went to school to like learn the craft of fashion and how to be a buyer, how to go. And I thought being a buyer that would give you the opportunity to go to Europe and buy clothes.
Wow.
So I did it, and while I was in school, I was also interning, and I had got a part-time job at a fashion buying house,
Mhm.
a company on 7th Avenue, the heart of 7th Avenue, like 7th Avenue, 37th Street. And I
Mhm.
worked for them for like maybe a year part time.
Mhm.
So I wanted to kind of increase, my knowledge and everything like that. And I wanted to, so I applied for like a full time job, to be an assistant. And I
Mhm.
never forget, the company was owned by some, Jewish people,
Mhm.
and the owner of the company, his name was Mr. Renshaw. I never forget that name.
Mhm.
He said that my boss, my supervisor at the time, was going to hire me to be the assistant,
Mhm.
but the man said, "Oh, he's black and he'll never make it
Wow.
as a fashion or as a buyer, so don't
Mhm.
give him the job."
What?
And when he did that, that crushed me,
Mhm.
really. That crushed my soul, crushed my spirit,
Mhm.
and everything. So by that crushing my soul and my spirit, I dropped out of college.
Wow.
Yes, I dropped out of college. So how I flipped it and how it just morphed was that I remember reading a magazine,
Mhm.
and I saw something about publicity, and I was reading the magazine. It was like a write it on a Black
Mhm.
Beat
Right.
magazine,
Right. Mhm.
and I was reading that magazine, and reading that magazine, it just talked about it said something about publicity and PR and publicists and the music industry, and I instantly got drawn to it.
Mhm.
So back then they used to have ads, and there was an ad for a PR company, and I just cold called them. It was a black owned PR company that
Mhm.
was owned by a gentleman named Angelo Ellaby, and his name of his company is called Double Exposure, and it's still
Oh,
in existence. Probably 40 years later, he's still a premier thing. He's actually Melba Moore's publicist, and
wow.
he actually did Melba Moore's Hollywood's Walk of Fame like 2 weeks ago. But long story short,
Because he's a
I
celebrity publicist, right?
yeah, he was a
Yeah.
celebrity publicist. I
Wow.
called, and they told me to come in, and I came in. He talked to me, and then he let me intern for him for a year,
Wow.
and he taught me so much about the music business,
Mhm.
so much. He took me on photo shoots with him.
Mhm.
He took me on interviews with them, and in that I just learned how to do the work. And
Right.
he sat me down. He told me, when you do something, you need to do. You have to learn everything. So if
Right.
you're at a photo shoot, you got to learn about hair, makeup,
Mhm.
clothes,
Mhm.
music, everything,
Mhm.
because you could be a one man show
Mhm.
and everything. And I never forgot that.
Mhm.
And to this day, those talents still resonates with me, and I still
Right.
utilize those talents. Oftentimes, I'm brought into by companies or by artists to be
Mhm.
a creative director, to creative
Right.
direct their photo shoots for a photo for an album cover,
Wow. Awesome.
and along with just knowing what I do in fashion, but also being able to be a premier person in terms of consulting when it comes down to the music industry.
Right.
So I really owe so much of that talent to Mr. Angelo Ellaby. Let's
Uh-huh.
give it up for him. I'm gonna
All
applaud for
right.
him.
Yes. Yes.
But his name is Angelo Ellaby.
Mhm.
Google him, double exposure. He's on Instagram, he's
Mhm.
on Facebook, and when I tell you he is a veteran of the music industry, he's a black owned company who's pretty much probably been in business now 40 years, and
And
he's
what are
still
you?
thriving. Yep.
Right. That's awesome. And what are you more passionate about? Fashion or music?
I just like I'm passionate about being creative. And all of that intertwined. So I can't say fashion thing. I don't claim to be a self fashion guru or anything like that. And so it's just something that's innate, that's inside of me. I
Mhm.
would tell anybody, I've told anybody, my mother was the first original fashion stylist in the world.
Mhm.
Why? Because my mother had 3 sons before she had her baby girl, my baby sister.
Uh-huh.
So my mother had she raised 3 boys and a husband. And my mother bought all of our clothes. And she dressed us each separately. Me and my sibling, me and
Mhm.
my brother, my 2 brothers. She never dressed us alike. So
Mhm.
she dressed my older brother in a certain style. She dressed me in a certain style, and she dressed my younger brother in a certain style.
No.
I was the darkest of my siblings, so she
Mhm.
always put me in bright colors to complement my complexion.
Mhm.
So if you see me a lot of my wardrobe would consist of bright colors because it's
Uh-huh.
just. And people said, "You always wear bright colors." I said, "Well, don't blame me. Blame Mother Gibbs.
Right.
She did that. I don't. It's just inside of me. So I
Right.
can't say that I like one more than the other. I love being creative. So
I
I'm a
hear you.
creative person.
Mhm.
I think with color and
Uh-huh.
fabrics and textures and all that different
Mhm.
things. I love artwork. I love art. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so yeah. So it's just I love being creative. I think from a creative mindset.
Okay. And now I know you've worked with some of the greatest in the secular industry as well as the gospel music industry. Who are some of the artists you worked with?
Oh gosh, well, for back in the '90s, I started my music industry career on the secular side. I
Uh-huh.
was working for Bad Boy, so I was working for Puffy,
Mhm.
and I worked that era of Puffy where it was, Biggie, it was
Mhm.
Faith Evans, it was Carl Thomas, it was 112. I worked at a really Little Kim. I worked at a really major season in time
Mhm.
in the '90s when it came down to R&B music. So that
Mhm.
was the best fun in the world, and
Wow.
that was the best history lesson. One of the greatest lessons I learned from working with Puffy was uh, your name is all you have in this in the industry. So be careful and don't let nobody destroy your name because your name is all you got. And I
Right.
still utilize that tool to this
Mhm.
day of how I treat people, how I interact with people, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm still a reflection, and my name is a reflection. My name goes before me. My name precedes me.
Mhm.
So yep. But like having the opportunity to work with Puffy,
Uh-huh.
then I left Bad Boy, and I started to work at Sony Music.
Yeah.
And then that was another beautiful era. That was like the early 2000s. So I was able to like work with people like Macy Gray. And
Wow.
that was kind of like almost like the beginning of the neo soul movement. So
Mhm.
I was able to work with Macy Gray. Then I was able to work with these little girls who used to come into the Sony building. It was
Mhm.
4 of them. And those little girls was Destiny's Child. And I
Wow.
remember them when they were like they had to probably been like 15, 16 years
Mhm.
old, and they were coming to the Sony Music building.
Mhm.
You'll see them on the elevator, and they were like little young girls and everything
Right.
like that. And then now, hence, you have Beyonce. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Mhm.
yes, so
Were you
that
able
picture.
to, when you met her, were you able to, bring that back to her memory?
No,
Okay.
and no. I mean, she probably wouldn't have even remembered, but it's just
Uh-huh.
the fact that it was a full circle moment for me. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Right. And you also worked at Epic and Columbia Records as well.
Yes, I did. Yep, I did.
Mhm.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I remember the evolution of Jill Scott. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
When I was at Epic Records, and she was it was like, who's this new girl? Her name is Jill Scott.
Mhm.
And I remember I went to her first concert at Radio City Music Hall,
Mhm.
like a few months after her album dropped, her first album dropped, who is Jill Scott. So, yes, I've really had the pleasure of having some really great experience. And then that just morphed into so many other great experiences,
Like
such as,
TV.
yeah,
TV.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're working on the gospel side
Mhm.
and everything like that. Just being able to really just work in gospel has really just not only as the platform with Bishop Hezekiah Walker, but being having to work, uh, with Kirk Franklin and Fred Hammond. I remember two other young ladies. I remember when they first started and they were just, no one knew who they were. And then they became Mary Mary. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Mhm.
So I was able to see a lot of firsts in working in the gospel music industry. A lot of firsts, yes.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. And you also worked for HBO, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I worked for HBO. So another experience. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
I just realized, like, I remember I worked on all those great shows on HBO,
Yes.
which was like The Sopranos and
Yeah.
6 Feet Under,
Mhm.
and a widely popular show called Sex and the City.
Right.
And I really just I realized the other day that it was the 25th anniversary of Sex and the City. I was like, wow. I remember working on that show like in 2005. So like
Mhm.
here we are 2023. So yeah, I had some really great really experience, and HBO was a great
Yeah.
experience for me.
So, Sean, when did you start the firm artist management?
So I started the firm in 2009 after I
Wow.
got laid off from HBO. So when I got
Okay.
laid HBO, someone told me like you should start your own company, and it
Mhm.
was so funny. So my god brother, my brother, and my business partner
Mhm.
Robert Hassan James from Root Magazine,
Uh-huh.
he wanted to start his own magazine. He was always a big fan of Gospel Today magazine, which
Mhm.
was owned by Teresa Hairston,
Mhm.
which is now Teresa Harrison Jackson. But he was a big fan of her magazine. He wanted to start another, a younger version of a Gospel Today magazine. So he created Root Magazine, and he asked me to partner with him,
Mhm.
and we kind of launched that in 2009. So he was able to, launch as the magazine. I was able to launch in management and managing
Mhm.
him and working with that and helping to build that from the
Mhm.
ground up and from a grassroots stage.
Mhm.
And then here, I think we've been in business and we've been business partners for maybe now close to maybe 13, 14 years.
Wow.
And that's been a blessing. So with
Yeah.
that just opened up so many other doors for me
Right.
and for him. So it opened
Mhm.
major doors for Root Magazine and his brand. It opened up major
Mhm.
doors for me and the firm Artist Management on my brand, because then I just expanded and covered a lot of different areas in gospel music, on that side. So it's been like for the last 10 years, I can say it has really been a major impact
Right.
and a major blessing for me in terms of what I do on the gospel music side.
Right.
And then now I've expanded to Broadway, so I'm doing
Wow.
Broadway. Yeah, so I work with a phenomenal Broadway producer,
Mhm.
a legendary Broadway producer. So just like I give Angela Ellaby props, I
Mhm.
give this beautiful woman props. Her name is Miss Irene Gandy,
Mhm.
and she's been the number one premier Black publicist on Broadway for the
Mhm.
last 50 years. And she's responsible for so many of the major Black Broadway plays
Mhm.
that have come through Broadway over the last probably 25 years.
Mhm.
So, especially a lot of the revivals, a lot of those August Wilson plays with
Mhm.
fences and piano. And she has brought me in, and I've been working alongside with her for the last year. So my first inaugural Broadway show was MJ a year and a half ago, and I
Mhm.
helped launch that. Then we did piano lessons.
Wow.
Then we did Tina, and now we're doing a brand new play called Pearly Victorious. So that's another revival of an old Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee play from the '60s,
Awesome.
and then they did a second revival in the mid '80s with Melba Moore and Robbie Guillaume. But now we did a new revival with
Mhm.
Leslie Odom Jr., the phenomenal actor Leslie Odom Jr., and Miss Irene Gandy has brought me in to be a faith-based community influencer.
Mhm.
So it's my job to bring in the faith-based churches into the play,
Oh, that's
bring in the key people and the key
mhm,
components into the play. So
mhm.
again, God just keep opening up all these
Yeah,
different doors for me, and I just keep walking in them.
right. Because real quick, tell us about your listening sessions because I've been to a few of them and they're awesome.
So I'm one of the premier media management persons in New York City. So anything gospel or anything that happens in gospel pretty much comes through me, and I put it out there amongst our constituents, and that's why I'm called the governor. Nah, but yeah. So I've been blessed to do these music listening sessions that I've
Mhm,
partnered with BMI and with ASCAP over the last now going on 10 years. And I've been able to bring a lot of the key artists here,
mhm.
from Kirk Franklin to Erica Campbell to Tasha Cobbs to Dietrich Haddon, just
Wow.
the list going to Jonathan McReynolds. I've been able to bring them into New York and highlight and showcase their music amongst a list of VIPs such as yourself. You've been to
Yeah.
several of them,
Mhm.
and you've been able to have a one-on-one up close experience listening and previewing the music before it
Right.
even gets out there amongst the
Yeah.
masses.
Yeah.
So that's been a really, really blessing. So it's been a
Yeah.
pleasure just having you be a part of that
Thank you so
as
much, Shawn.
one of my New York influencers. Yes.
Thank you. I tell you, 30 minutes goes so quick. But Shawn, I just want to thank you for being my very special guest on the Keiwear Show. And I encourage all my viewers to come back next week for another episode of the Keiwear Show. You can follow me on all social media platforms and on the internet. My information will be on the screen, as well as Shawn Governor Gibbs. His information will be on the screen as well, so you can reach out to him. And remember, Keiwear is the key to knowledge. God bless.
Hello, I'm Shawn Court, owner of True Perspective Publishing House, and you're watching The Keiwear Show.
Hi, I'm Valori Thomas, the founder of the Institute at Wild Coaching and Consulting, an accredited member of the Forbes Coaches Council, and you're watching The Keiwear Show.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bobby Walker. I am a crypto enthusiast, and you are watching The Keiwear Show.
What's good, everybody? It's Barry Alston, the all-around artist. You're watching The Keiwear Show.